Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking more TexTalks, BattleTech, specifically the Rifleman. Now, last time around, I might have had it pointed out that I was badly using the Rifleman on the tabletop, and it's like, oh, this wasn't intended as a call-out, but it literally worked that way perfectly. Yeah. So we're going to just see what happens. You guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. Are you done? Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. And if you happen to see me on TikTok, it's not me. It's the person who's impersonating me and is actually doing really well at it to an annoying extent. Yeah. Again, links below. Hit it up. Let's get started.
The Capellans believed they could not fail, as after all, they went into the war with everything they had. Unfortunately for them, the Taurian Concordat takes military policy seriously. They have always looked to the Inner Sphere with suspicion, and have prepared themselves for the day the Inner Sphere comes knocking looking for free real estate.
I hate how they're being proven right here. It's like, we know they're not trustworthy. All of them are liars. And then they're proven right. Also, people told me that the reason that they were proven right is because of internal policies where the person who was really cool and loud, and I really have a hard time saying those words because they just don't feel right. But she was unalived by random political assholes who I'm not even going to bother naming or remember the name of because it's like, we're not doing what we should be doing because it's not tradition. And then they proceeded to do all this fuck up to prove that they were right, and, well, looks like they got fucked up.
When the bulk of the Capellan navy set to raid the Taurian Concordat, hitting worlds to soften them up for the invasion, they would often find their ships wouldn't come back, or most sane commanders would see this as a very clear sign that something was amiss, up hard. That they were kicking a hornet's nest, perhaps, and probably making a tactical boo-boo. The Capellans were undaunted and pushed on, because Capellans are like that. To sum it up, there is a joke about Capellan commanders I'd like to tell you.
Is the joke that they make Steiner commanders look competent and merit-based? Because if so, that's actually kind of mean. That's actually mean.
Capellan Officer School has a test for entry, wherein blocks of various shapes and sizes are put through holes of corresponding shapes and sizes. This results in two kinds of officers populating the Capellan Armed Forces. Those who are moderately...
I know this is not the focus here, but what the fuck is up with that nail? It's like, okay, we have our thumbnail, and then the nail itself is ripping it off because it cannot be alive. What? This is like literally 5 seconds before torture. Like, there's the thumb, there's the rest of the nail. What is going on here? Why?
Intelligent, and those who are incredibly strong. So, during this war, the Capellans experienced some setbacks at home. In the lead-up to conflict and during the war itself,
I have questions, and most of them are, I get that the guy here, or girl here, is supposed to be the leader, but, why do they have G.I. Joe? Also, I've heard of crazy top rates, but this is like Warhammer 40k levels over the top rates there. What the hell? Or top knots.
The armed forces of the Capellan Confederation would see a series of purges and downsizing. Whether a deliberate act of political sabotage, brain-dead bureaucracy, or just foolish belief that they could get by with less, this decision resulted in a loss of competent staff officers and reasonable oversight. The young officers, now without numerous experienced commanders, would try.
I just realized there's a historical parallel to this I don't think Tex realized at the time. This came out in what? Apparently it doesn't tell me. First thing was a year ago. That would be the ye old days of 2021. Still technically in the after times. You know what I mean. If you don't, I don't think I can talk about it on YouTube. But can you imagine a superior military force with access to nuclear weapons deciding to invade a neighbor that's a smaller nation they perceive as weaker, and then getting their ass collectively kicked and losing competent military commanders while just continuously throwing people into the thresher? Can you imagine how that would go? Wow. Reality is mirroring fiction. We've reached the point where BattleTech has such a good emulation of reality based on mirroring reality that reality is mirroring BattleTech now. due to legal reasons, and by legal I mean literally terms of service for YouTube, and I don't want to say anything that I shouldn't, I can't say anything more about what specific reality I'm talking about. Although just randomly, blue and gold, good colors.
Outdo each other throughout the entire war, taking action that bordered on insanity. Mass charges into prepared defenses. Yes, they did that. Glassing worlds who offered the tiniest bit of resistance. So cool. Yes, they did that. Nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons? Yes, they used those too. Each attack was more savage than the next, and proved extremely costly.
God damn. The Turian turtle. I'm just thinking it's a tank, but then I'm looking up here and like, how many rocket launchers are up there? Is this a super heavy tank? Oh God. Everything about this, it terrifies me. Like, I don't like this. It's like if you took a tank and put battle mech armor on it. Oh. It's like if you just basically made a battle mech, but in tank form. And said, hey, you know those weight requirements? Fuck them. Oh God.
Taurians, having always been a nation completely given over to the military philosophy of fuck around and find out, would visit atrocities back on the Capellans. Tenfold. Mind you, this is a population of people that has consistently throughout history said with one unified voice, time and again, hippity hoppity get off my property, and then backed it up with fucking nuclear weapons. After years of fighting, after astronomical losses, after committing and then losing entire battle groups, the Capellans won 3 worlds. 3. For this stunning loss of equipment and gaining few planets that were...
Damn. You gotta wonder, why the hell does the Turian Concordat hate Davion so much compared to Lao, which seems like they've earned it so much more. Probably just more recently.
Ruined. The Capellan state paid for it by nearly bankrupting themselves.
Nearly?
The Taurians, having enjoyed the opportunity to kill Capellan, shrugged, dug in, and prepared for the next war. However, in 2427, Captain General Terrence Merrick managed to turn the offensive into a meat grinder that bogged the Lyran offensive down until it lost momentum. Losing entire armies for no gain would be...
Merrick? I thought we were talking about the... What? Did we just switch... Okay, maybe I'm missing something, but I'm pretty sure we were just talking about the end of the Lao, but the transition I missed completely.
Prepared for the next war. However, in 2427, Captain General Terrence Merrick managed to turn the offensive into a meat grinder that bogged the Lyran offensive down until it lost momentum. Losing entire armies for no gain would be catastrophic and...
No, we've gone from the Lao Turing Confederation... Turing Confederation, wow. Conflict, that's the word I was looking for. Wow, I can't speak today. Back over to the Merrick-Steiner one. Also, yeah, for some reason, I got it in my head, Lyran was the Free Worlds League. I don't know why I did that last episode. I don't get it. Especially since, in most of the BattleTech games, I specifically target one over the other to the point where I'm very familiar with them. I don't get why I missed that. Yeah, Lyran, Steiner, Merrick, Free Worlds. Yeah, I'm just going to go random insanity. I mean, it's me, so it's probably not so random, but you guys know what I mean. Which, hell, even I don't know what I mean sometimes. So if you do, let me know. That's the only reason I figured it out. Don't know why that happened still.
Modern military terms, to the Lyran Commonwealth's General Staff. That catastrophic loss scenario is called Tuesday. And on and on.
So it's just
went.
general war all out.
War was a sport. War was frequent. And without strategic weapons in full use by Ares Convention signatories, war resulted in Pyrrhic victories or stalemates. War had to change, to evolve, for the leaders of the great houses were endlessly waging a series of wars with restrictive rules.
Nothing I want to say. I'm just appreciating the art. I love battleship art. Oh, goo, look at that. Honestly, I would think that's a heat panel, but it looks more like it's a defensive mechanism considering they put something very similar on art for the Centurion and other battle mechs. Dude, just look how close they are. It's I mean, I know it's too close for actual fighting. This would be not even knife fighting. This would be like, whoa, shit, we're already inside them and we're firing the gun. That's like where you rip out someone's heart to put a gun in there and then to shoot the heart after you've already ripped it out. Because sure, why not? It's that level of close. But it looks so cool. Oh, dude.
Rules which did not encompass their full arsenals and military doctrine choices.
It's cheaper, and they get to have more fun with the new sport of fighting.
That war could change, but it did. It had to. As you well know, the debut of the BattleTech changed everything. From 2439, I believe we see a new age.
I just want to point out, I never noticed this beforehand because cool looking mech is cool, but there's literally only the one cord holding up the entire arm of the mech. That is one hell of a strong drawstring right there, man. Holy hell. To be fair, some of the strings they use to hold bridges are actually about that thick. It's what they actually need, and they usually bulk it up to give it extra leeway, but also so people don't freak out when you see how little they actually need to hold up some horrible, horrible shit. So that might actually be realistic.
The age of the BattleTech. In the years following the Mackey's production,
the original art they made
introduction,
so good.
celebration, use in war, and later being stolen and copied by the great houses
God,
of
that is offensively
Sphere,
90s.
you see this new age.
I know I said it before, but
an
it really
age
is.
of proliferation. War now had a new standard of conflict, mainly that they were fought out almost completely on the surface of a planet. And this BattleTech age would boil down to who could build the most mechs and efficiently field them. But instead of embracing the Mackey and accepting it as the new standard of warfare as they had done with the Aries conventions, a bare handful of scientists, military leaders, and military philosophers would ask the most important question at this juncture. What if instead of more mechs, we built better ones?
Oh,
with
they're
all of
actually
these
improving.
lessons in mind, that is where I lead us next.
A sharper stick. Oh, God. So I need to ask, because I wasn't entirely sure about this going in. Is the Rifleman basically the second ever battle mech? Because I know the Mackey's the first, but what? It feels like they're kind of leading into that being the thing. Also, I have questions about this image. I can't see the house markings here, and not sure. But it looks like we got a RimWorlds League and a Star League fighting together. And I have no idea what kind of weapon this is. Like, literally no idea. It looks like some kind of crazy energy weapon. And to be fair, there's plenty of crazy energy weapons, so that's very possible. But this is a very weird bit of art. I like it. How do you sharpen that there stick?
Before long, it was plain that war had changed. From former Terran colonies to the rise of great interstellar powers, war had been more or less the same. But the Aries conventions and the rise of the BattleTech would change the pace of war. Nations could no longer use strategic weapons of their warship navies with impunity. They had to embrace new ways of fighting, and competition boiled down to who had more, if not better, weapons on hand in the terrestrial battlefield. After the first BattleTech combat drop in 2453, the great houses stood in horror for a brief moment, realizing that yes, war had changed. Hell.
Oh, this guy just got, he was just weight reduced radically. Oh, that is a disturbing cut point, Tex. It was like, what are we looking through? It's like a hole. What are we, there's he's missing part. Okay. God damn you. That is a very disturbing edit.
Most great houses spent a good amount of time in shock, confirming what was reported had actually happened, that it wasn't some elaborate PR stunt or propaganda piece before trying to steal the blueprints themselves and technical specifications to build the new mech at any cost. It took years.
Are we going to get more
but
info
most
on the ceiling?
succeeded. Some houses ended up buying the design off those who had managed through espionage alone to acquire the secrets of the Mackey.
Bought it. Makes sense.
The focus of the Inner Sphere was now squarely on the BattleTech, and rapidly it became a question of who could build more. But the Mackey, while a game changer, was limited. Chiefly, it was a prototype rushed into production, and certainly any prototype has its problems. Doubly so when that prototype is exposed to the hardships and operations tempo of an active war zone. Indeed, It would be foolish to wildly field a weapon that, when damaged, must return to the factory that built it for service. When every great house and their vast scientific and engineering resources began to dissect the Mackie, they immediately found room for improvement.
Don't get me wrong, I like the Mackie, but if you have to go back to the factory every time it's fixed or needs a fix, that would become an issue really fast. Also, so the Terran hegemony actually did just mass produce these. They didn't have any background guys. Like, they were talking so much about how, yeah, they have all these guys with like the 90-year plans of just innovate for the sake of innovation and see if we can use it, because if you can make something, we'll use it. And then they did, and then did they just cut it out there? I want to say it's unrealistic, but honestly, no, it makes perfect sense that this is such a cool success. It's like, yeah, this is the new hot fit. Hot fit. I can't speak today. Hot shit. There we go. It makes sense, but also, I just realized this guy is really loaded down and everything. What the hell? It's like he has his own computer strapped to him. Damn. Love the art, though.
Initially, improvements were on the prototypical technologies and components of the Mackie itself. Once reliability issues were solved and mass production changes made to the design for easy industrial scale mass manufacture, innovation took hold.
Into what?
And while the Mackie was certainly satisfying to most, it was not a solution
to all
problems. So the great houses began to plan for more specialized mechs to fill various battlefield roles. The next generation had to be better. What
does come next? I'm actually really curious.
Built off the lessons learned from this primitive era of mech combat. The innovation drive and the hegemony had people wanting something to complement the Mackie. And judging by what came of this want, the desire to smite opponents from afar seems to have been the single largest concern. Yeah. By 2458, the Archer appeared. Shortly thereafter, the Helopolis.
Wait, the Archer was the second? God damn. I've never even heard of this one. It looks like it's actually very straightforward. It's literally just a platform to hold it. Yeah. Like, this is a newer design of the Archer. And honestly, the Archer is an amazing mech. I still run one in Mechwarrior 5 because it keeps up with super heavies. If you get the right shit on it, it can hold up. I've never even heard of this one, but it looks cool. Also, weird. Like, really weird. I like it.
So if the Mackie was a walking tank, or at least a combat bulldozer, these new mechs provided
platform,
war with
and looks like a
artillery.
cannon platform?
There's a well-worn saying related to that. Artillery is king of
artillery
the
and LRMs, yeah.
And while that may be true, as artillery strikes from afar and with great force, it is profoundly expensive, and unless indiscriminate destruction
which they're fine with,
it needs accurate fire direction to function. And while some would argue that these problems should have been solved the other way around, that fire control and ranging should have been figured out first in mech terms, artillerymen will disagree. Namely, as they don't really care and just enjoy watching things explode. But commanders would have their way in the end. And
you know, I want to say that they're wrong and it's stupid, but I'm exactly the kind of person who's like, big explosion, go boom, yeah. So I completely embody that thought process of, we'll get the cool stuff in first, and all the techie stuff, like, I mean, aiming, hitting the target, that comes second. First comes the big boom. Yeah, no, I'm completely that bad, yeah.
So the military-industrial complex tackled the scout mech concept next. In 2464, we got the first jump jet-capable recon mech.
Oh, it actually is.
And despite early failures with its ability to jump safely, if at all, the prototype was quickly perfected for mass production by 2471.
Wow, I didn't realize that was the first scout.
By the end of that century, we got another two well-known and reliable mechs to fill out further specialized battlefield roles. The venerable Thunderbolt, and the first true medium mech with the Griffin. And in this era...
I'll be honest, I didn't realize until they're next to each other, but they look really damn similar. Like, it never even occurred to me how similar they were. Or the fact that, you know, they started with the assault class and then built down. But, yeah, and they're just solid mechs. Didn't realize they were so old, his designs, though. I mean, it makes sense because we saw these in the Star League, and they were, I guess, hyper-prevalent in the Star League would be a better term, all over the place. So, yeah, but also, it's just weird thinking they're some of the oldest ones around, like pre-Star League even.
Of proliferation, the wheels of industry promised that so long as there were buyers, this rate of innovation would continue. These first steps were slow, but with every passing decade, the great houses continued to expand on the idea of producing their own unique designs best suited to their battlefield needs.
So what led to the production of the Rifleman?
Increasingly, commanders wanted mechs for specialized roles, artillery for static defenses, scouts to find targets for artillery, frontline mechs to brawl, attackers to break through, medium mechs to act as quick reaction forces.
Oh, so that's the role of them. See, I've always been playing games where you don't really use mechs like that, but these are actually really good choices, and that's still the Mackie. Dude, I want to go back. This is such good art. So yeah, the artillery, which I want to find one of these because I've never seen one before. The fact that the Archer's the second oldest still surprised me.
Scouts to find targets.
Of course it is. Lear and Commando. I didn't realize they could actually do that. Or is that a Davion fist? I've been staring at the Federated Commonwealth logos so much that I actually can't remember which part's which anymore. Yeah. Dude. It makes sense though when you think about it, like, yes, these are the roles these are supposed to fill. And in hindsight, I'm just thinking, yeah, that makes sense. Scouts to find where to put the big boom. These guys to cause the big boom, and then the rest to actually do things.
It's for artillery, frontline mechs to brawl, attackers to break through, medium mechs to act as quick reaction
to get
forces.
there so you can at least hold them up until the big guys get there.
This is when you see the establishment of battle mechs as doctrine.
Shadowhawk too.
Every factory and every industrial firm accepted this challenge to innovate, as after all, the funding was unlimited. This era of rapid battle mech advancement was an all-out competition between the great houses and all of their vast resources. This was the new dawn of a great arms race. War began to change with this innovation challenge, with great houses factoring the capability of mechs into every strata of their warfighting philosophy and strategy. Where once mechs were an expensive oddity,
now they're the
a curiosity, or a very costly force multiplier, with availability becoming commonplace and designs rapidly evolving to fill specialized combat roles. Mechs were soon integrated into the central warfighting doctrines of every major power. So much so that by 2496, the very first true dropship was used, designed principally to bring mechs swiftly and safely to the battlefield.
Okay, I was kind of wondering why this thing looks so patched together and the design is so radically different from every other dropship. It looks like a regular, well, I was going to say missile, but actually, never mind. It does look like a missile, honestly, just a really stubby one. But I'm assuming this is the art that Tex has specifically for the video because it matches the style of the previous specifically made pieces. So that would imply this is heavily accurate to what he's saying. Those are very big guns on the side. Oh, wow, that is a lot of them. What are the little hatches?
And then to recover them once the day was won. Further, this effect generated a cultural shift, for by the dawn of the 26th century, mech warriors themselves were now central figures in any conflict. And nothing changes there. Where once great generals or brave soldiers were the paragon of military virtues, the mech warrior had now taken center stage. Mech warriors were the gods of war, driving machines into the center of any conflict and beating victory out of the opponent in glorious warfare.
You don't see this very often in art. I've seen a lot of the helmets, but you don't usually see the connection points leading into them. That's actually really cool.
Odd throwback to historical military tradition, mech warriors began to be seen as knights of the great feudal houses. So much so that by 2505, the Lorix Order was created. The Order of Lorix was a military and philosophical society who, in their chief work, the Lorix Creed, established the belief that mech warriors were the pinnacle of society, and such a philosophy would have far-reaching consequences in time.
It's basically the chivalrous code of knights, but for mech warriors. That actually makes perfect sense. And I don't know, something about the super over-the-top old English style of it makes me think it's Lyran. I don't know why, though.
But for the moment, it established the sense of Mechwarriors as knights errant for a new age of war. The Aries conventions governed war, the Lorix Order and the Lorix Creed.
Seriously? I'm sorry, I love this art, and I honestly hope it's canon and not just... They're literally doing halos for a Mackie. The Mackie has a halo, and all the other mechs, ooh, there's a Rifleman, are just bowing down. Like, just respectfully bowing, and one is flat out kneeling to the Jesus Mackie. This has to be something Tex commissioned. This has to be art from the Black Pants Legion just for this, because if this is actually canon BattleTech art, I honestly would love this. Mechwarrior Imperator. I have no idea what any of this says.
Governed the Mechwarrior. Among other things, the Lorix Creed established that Mechwarriors shall be expected to display the highest degree of professionalism, and that the highest order of warrior and defender of the realm was the Mechwarrior himself. The Creed established the status of Mechwarriors as a special caste, a celebrated breed of warrior, one possessing the highest honors possible, and that they in turn should be expected to perform the most outstanding feats of daring in defense of the state.
Well, that changed.
It established war as a way of life, a profession, and that way of life was honorable, desirable, and worthy of those willing to apply these
Also, you have
ideals.
unlimited funds coming to you from all the great houses.
The tools to wage it, and the people who use them had changed in the shadow of the Mackie. And the reason I bring this to you, the reason I recap these lessons and give you a background on the era and culture of the Inner Sphere at the dawn of the 26th century is because it is that world which was rapidly changing. And it is that world which shapes all that follows.
Oh, because they had gone from full-out warfare, where the biggest style boom you have is going to win, where sundering a world happens up until the Aries Convention, the warship era, because that's what he's focusing on. It's going from that back down to the warrior culture from the military culture. You can still have militaries, but it's warriors in a military as opposed to soldiers in a military. It's moving into that individual actual having power. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And also the chivalric code. It's moving from the Roman legions to knighthood. Oh, makes sense.
Within a 100-year period, doctrines and military fighting strategies had shifted from strategic weapons to battle mechs. In a 100-year period, the conduct of war had shifted from annihilation and conquest to border skirmishes and controlled conflict. In a 100-year period, the great houses of the Inner Sphere put away the old weapons and forged altogether new ones.
Oh, they still had the old
contest
weapons.
of might
People don't
that
get
would
rid
shape
of
all that
They just use them
followed.
later in the Succession Wars.
It was in this era of rapid change in which the Rifleman was born.
Intermission. Okay, and that was where we're going to cut it today, because I just think this is a really good point to cut off at. We got up to the intermission. We got up to all of the lore coming together and showing that we're changing what people are looking for in a mech. Hyper specialized for people who view themselves as honorable. And I'm assuming they're going to do something now with this to get rid of the chaff. Like the dishonorable tank commanders, or the ungodly annoying VTOL pilots who just happen to harass you but don't seem to get hit by normal. I might be a little biased against VTOLs because of just how annoying they are in Mechwarrior 5, and it's my own fault because I did install the Scarier Tanks mod, which there's also a mod to buff them, and it's my own fault for installing it, but I'm assuming these are anti-air platforms because of the ballistics and just long range, because you can then snipe things with it. It's basically the sniper platform, which they didn't really cover, the long range, fuck you, take out the commander type platform. But I could be wrong, because that's how I would use it, and I have proven to myself and anyone who watched the previous video, I don't know how to use a Rifleman, so I don't really know what they're going into. But I love that Tex is setting the ground by just connecting it to the previous episode, showing how it built from before the Mackie and the time of war, how the culture changed from all the specific area of denial in the terms of planets to fighting battles in just not small sections, but intense, frequent, money unlimited battles that won't sunder worlds. They'll just sunder wherever the battle happens to be, which could be smaller than an entire planet. And that's the reason why I was accepted, because losing planets, bad. Losing cities, which can be rebuilt, costly, but not as bad. I love all of this and going into the traditions, because I started listening to the audiobook Ideal War, and it's like, they're just redoing what they already did. Neat. Haven't finished it yet. I just started. It's pretty good, though. I love the history. I love the backstory. I love everything Tex is doing here. And I love just hearing how things are changing, to get the backstory, to show why it's changing. Now you have no idea how tempting it is to just keep going right now. That said, I'm recording this obscenely late at night, and if I stay this loud, I am going to wake up my wife. Scratch that. I just did. I'm dead. I need to go make amends. Fuck. I thought I got quiet before it got too loud. No, I failed. Oops. Yeah. So if you haven't already, there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. Are you done? Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Now, if you don't mind, I need to go appease my wife for waking her up really late at night. Yeah, recording when I can't sleep is probably a bad idea. Oops.